is from Ana in Planaltina, Brazil. I've been married 16 years. We don't fight much. We don't talk much either. It's that kind of quiet where everything works, but nothing really feels alive. I didn't realize how heavy that silence had gotten until all of this happened. I've always believed that small kindness matters. So after work, I'd stop by the bus terminal with food for people living on the streets. My husband said it was dangerous, that I was too trusting. Maybe he was right. But helping made me feel like I still had a purpose. That's where I met him. He thanked me like the words were hard to say. He didn't ask for money or anything else, just thanked me. I remember thinking he seemed different. Clear eyes, gentle tone. I didn't feel scared around him. That's how it started. Just a small, strange calm. I began seeing him more often. I'd bring leftovers, sit for a few minutes, talk about small things, weather, memories, faith. It felt harmless, but my husband noticed. He teased me, said I was trying to save the lost. I laughed along, but something about his tone made me defensive. One evening, I offered him a ride. I said we could pray somewhere quiet, away from the noise. He didn't argue. The drive was silent, except for the hum of the old air conditioner. I remember gripping the wheel too tight, feeling like I was doing something halfway good, halfway wrong. When it happened, it didn't feel like a choice. It felt like falling asleep and waking up in someone else's body. I thought I saw something, flashes of my husband's face, even something divine. It's embarrassing to admit that. In that moment, I believed it was bigger than me. Holy even. Then the car door slammed. My husband had tracked my phone. He stood there, frozen, looking at me like he didn't know who I was. The air went dead. He didn't yell right away. He just stared. Then it came. The sound of someone realizing their life just split in two. He snapped. There was shouting, a shove. Then more people appeared. Someone called the police. I didn't move. I just stood there, holding my jacket closed, trying to breathe. Every sound echoed. The sirens, the yelling, it all blurred together. I kept thinking, how did I get here? What did I do? At the police station, I tried to explain. I said it wasn't like that. I said I saw something spiritual, something I can't explain. They just nodded and wrote notes. My husband sat across from me, arms crossed, jaw tight. He didn't look up once. I've never felt smaller in my life. Fun fact, under intense stress or religious emotion, some people experience brief mental breaks where reality and belief blur together. It's more common than most realize, and often, the person doesn't even know it's happening until it's over. They remember the faith, not the confusion. Anyway, they brought me to a clinic the next morning. I wasn't handcuffed, but it felt like punishment. The walls were white, the lights too bright. A nurse asked if I knew where I was. I said yes, but honestly, I wasn't sure about anything anymore. Everything still felt unreal. A doctor came in with a calm voice. He asked about drugs, sleep, and religion. I told him I'd only been tired, that I thought I was helping someone in need. He nodded slowly, writing something down. I wanted to ask what he was writing, but I didn't have the courage. They said it might have been stress or a kind of short-term psychosis. I didn't believe them at first. I didn't feel crazy. I felt empty, like I'd been walking in a dream that suddenly turned on me. It's strange how fast people stop treating you like a person after that. My husband came to see me once. He stood by the door, hands in his pockets. He didn't cry. He didn't yell. He just looked tired. When he finally spoke, he said, "I told them you're not evil. You're just sick." I didn't know whether to thank him or feel insulted. He said he'd stay, that we'd work through it. But his eyes didn't match his words. They looked hollow, like he was reading lines from a script he didn't believe anymore. I wanted to ask if he still loved me, but I didn't want to hear the answer. Reporters found out about it somehow. Someone must have told them. They called it a scandal. I wasn't even home yet. I saw my name online next to words like madness and affair. I wanted to disappear. It's strange being talked about like a headline instead of a person. When I came back home, the neighbors stared but said nothing. People avoid eye contact when they're curious. The smell of my husband's cooking filled the kitchen, but the house felt colder. We still slept in the same room, but the bed might as well have been a border. He started going to church again, this time without me. I hear the door close early on Sundays. He said prayers out loud now, like he was trying to remind God that he was still loyal. I stayed home, pretending to clean, listening to the silence stretch between us. Sometimes I walk past the bus terminal again. The man I helped isn't there anymore. I don't know what happened to him. Part of me still hopes he found peace. Or maybe I just need to believe this whole thing meant something. Otherwise, it's just pain with no lesson. At night, I replay it in my head. The car, the face, the shouting, the lights. I still can't explain what came over me. It wasn't love. It wasn't lust either. It was something that felt right for a second, and wrong forever after. I don't think I'll ever understand it. Weeks passed, and no one talked about it directly anymore. My husband and I went back to our routines like nothing had happened. He'd ask about dinner, about bills, about small things that didn't matter. It almost felt normal. And that somehow made it worse. He said the doctor wanted me to rest. I nodded and agreed, but I didn't feel tired. I felt blank. I used to pray every night before bed, but now I just stared at the ceiling, wondering if anyone was even listening. Sometimes I'd catch him watching me, just for a second, when he thought I didn't notice. It wasn't love or anger in his eyes. It was fear. Not of me hurting him, but of losing whatever version of me he used to know. My family stopped visiting. They said it was for privacy, but I could tell they were embarrassed. My mother called once and asked if I'd been taking my medicine. I told her yes, even though there wasn't any. It was easier than trying to explain that I was still lost. I thought about leaving, but where would I go? My name was already tied to everything. My husband still paid the bills, still drove me to appointments. We were a picture of forgiveness to the outside world. Inside, we were just strangers sharing the same air. Sometimes I stand outside at night and look at the stars. I used to think that meant something spiritual, like signs from above. Now, I just stare because it's quiet. I tell myself that maybe silence is a kind of prayer too, one that doesn't need words. I've stopped trying to explain what I saw that night. No one believes me anyway. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was just my mind snapping for a moment. But part of me still remembers the warmth, the certainty, like something was reaching back toward me. People say forgiveness heals everything, but that's not true. Forgiveness just makes life possible again. My husband says he's forgiven me. I've said the same to him. But when we sit at the table, there's a silence that feels like a scar neither of us will admit is there. Some days, I visit the church steps but don't go inside. I sit there, listening to people sing. I can't join in anymore. I don't know what I believe now. Maybe faith isn't about answers. Maybe it's about living with questions you can't fix. I don't know what that night truly was, a breakdown, a calling, or something I still can't name. But it changed everything. If you've ever done something you don't understand, I hope you find peace with it someday. If this story meant something to you, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more real stories like mine.